public to stop sharing plane crash victims' videos. Proposal to use different logo and theme for Merdeka promotes disunity. Hello and good afternoon. I'm Mohana Priya. Welcome to Updates at Noon. Selangor Pakatan Harapan Chairman Datuk Seri Amiruddin Shari was today sworn in as the state's Menteri Besar for a second term. Datuk Seri Amiruddin, 43, took his oath of office before the Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah, at Balai Rung Seri, Istana Alam Shah. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim had announced during the polls campaign that Datuk Seri Amiruddin would be nominated for the Menteri Besar post should PHBN win the polls. The PH Barisan Nasional BN Alliance won 34 of the 56 seats contested in the state polls on the 12th of August. Datuk Seri Amiruddin retained the Sungai Tua State Assembly seat for the fourth straight time in the state polls with 19,678 votes. Also present at the swearing-in ceremony and presentation of appointment letter to the Menteri Besar were Tengku Permaisuri of Selangor, Tengku Permaisuri Norashikin, and Raja Muda of Selangor, Tengku Amir Shah. Police have warned the public not to share videos of victims involved in the plane crash on the Guthrie Highway near Bandar Elmina in Shah Alam. Deputy Inspector General of Police Datuk Seri Ayub Khan Maidin Piche said legal action would be taken against anyone caught disseminating such videos.
Saya nak menyeru semua orang masyarakat jangan memviralkan benda-benda ni. Hormatilah privasi keluarga yang macam-macam terlibat ni. Tak tahulah kok dia nak cari banyak follower dan sebagainya, saya tak tahu. Tapi kita akan mengambil tindakan di bawah Seksyen 233 kalau ada lagi. So saya rasa SKMM pun telah mengeluarkan kenyataan dan ini kenyataan daripada polis. Ada lagi, kita akan mengambil tindakan bawah 233. Jangan menyebarkan video-video ni. Kalau ada, salurkan pada pihak polis. Macam-macam teori yang ada lah. Itu yang saya katakan, jangan membuat spekulasi. Biar pihak berkaitan membuat siasatan.
Datuk Seri Ayub Khan said police had taken statements from 3 individuals involved in sharing videos of the tragedy and might call up more to help in the investigation if necessary. Any proposal to use a different logo and theme for the National Day celebration is recognized as a social deficit out to promote disunity. National Unity Minister Dato' Aaron Ago Dagang said such a proposal is a hindrance to the government's efforts in ensuring the well-being of the community. Dato' Aaron was referring to the statement made by Perikatan National Youth Chief Ahmad Fadli Sha'ari, who proposed that the 4 states under the PN administration use a different National Day logo and theme for state-level celebrations. Dato' Aaron said the theme of National Day and Malaysia Day 2023, Malaysia Madani, Tekad Perpaduan Penuhi Harapan, which was launched on the 27th of May, was to foster a spirit of unity and patriotism and instill a deep love for the nation. He said every citizen in this country is well aware that every year the event is celebrated with the spirit of patriotism and love for the country to remember the sacrifices of the nation's freedom fighters and their struggles for the country's independence. Dato' Aaron also called on all parties to help promote national unity and join hands to ensure that efforts to strengthen unity can be achieved at an optimal rate, because unity is key to building a harmonious and prosperous nation. Today's youth leaders need to nurture and develop a line of leaders of caliber who would serve the country in the future. Malacca Chief Minister Dato' Sri Abdul Rauf Yusof said the current youth leaders would pass the age limit set. Therefore, early preparations need to be made to form the next generation of leaders.
Pastinya kita akan membantu sekadar yang mampu mengikut kerajaan negeri, tapi kerajaan persekutuan juga menyediakan bajet yang terbaiklah untuk anak-anak muda. bukan saja dalam program belia, tapi ada anak muda yang harus diasuh dalam bidang pendidikan. Mereka boleh menceburi dalam pelbagai peluang-peluang pendidikan yang telah diuruskan oleh kerajaan, sama ada di peringkat profesional, semi-profesional dan peringkat TVET, untuk menjadikan mereka dan masa depan mereka terjamin. Ya, jadi anak-anak muda saya berjuru supaya ambillah peluang dalam kestabilan kerajaan yang sedang mengurus tabir negara ini. Mereka harus menjadi anak muda yang boleh terjamin masa depannya. Ya.
He also said that youths must always be efficient, fast, creative, intelligent and brave in facing any challenges, as they will determine the success of every national development agenda in the future. Datuk Sri Abdul Rauf added that youth associations and organizations in Malacca need to always move proactively in carrying out any kind of program, especially those that can ease the burden of the people. On another matter, Datuk Sri Abdul Rauf said the trial run for the implementation of the vehicle-free zone, which involved closing some roads around Bandar Hile for 6 hours, went smoothly with the cooperation of all parties. Now, following the trial run, Datuk Sri Abdul Rauf said the state government will conduct a detailed study on the traffic flow around the area. He said the closure of the roads gave the traders the opportunity to conduct their business along the pavement or outside their premises, thus helping them to increase their income.
Kebanyakannya pengusaha-pengusaha, ahli-ahli perdagangan sekali itu menyambut baik kerana mereka dapat membuka kedainya sampai larut malam. Kerana bila tak ada kereta, orang boleh berjalan ramai dan mereka boleh singgah membeli belah dan makan malam bersama dengan keluarga di kawasan-kawasan yang tumpuan pelancong yang cukup banyak dan ramai. Semalam quite moderate, aliran trafik boleh dibuat kajian daripada hasil percubaan pertama semalam. Nampaknya tidak begitu sesak kerana jalan lingkaran luar daripada kawasan bangunan merah itu dapat dikawal dengan baik.
The vehicle-free zone will be implemented every Saturday from 6 p.m. to 12 midnight as a trial run. The 2.3-kilometre stretch closure involves Jalan Istana, Jalan Mahkamah, Jalan Gereja, Lorong Gereja, Jalan Laksamana, as well as parts of Jalan Tun Khalil Yaakob and Jalan Merdeka in Melaka. Now, state-level engagement sessions to receive input related to Budget 2024 begins today, starting with Melaka. Deputy Finance Minister Datuk Sri Ahmad Maslan said the Finance Ministry engagement sessions in several states are expected to take a month. Tours to the states start today with Melaka, with a dialogue on Budget 2024 with the state government. After this, Datuk Sri Ahmad said the ministry would travel to other states based on a pre-arranged schedule. He also hoped the public would give their views and proposals through the Finance Ministry's web portal for Budget 2024. Budget 2024 has been scheduled for tabling in Parliament on the 13th of October. Meanwhile, Datuk Sri Ahmad said he was confident that assistance for women and youth entrepreneurs would increase for next year's budget. He said this is to help these groups engage in business activities while increasing their information and knowledge about the business ecosystem. With information and knowledge about business, he said women and youth entrepreneurs would not easily fall for scams that would lead to losses. On the foreign front, Kim oversees missile tests as South Korea-US military drills kick off. Welcome back. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has overseen a test of strategic cruise missiles as South Korea and the United States kicked off annual military drills, which Pyongyang sees as a rehearsal for war. In still photographs released by state media agency KCNA on Monday, Kim can be seen visiting a Navy fleet stationed on the East Coast to inspect a test aboard a warship. Kim touted the ship for maintaining high mobility and mighty striking power and constant preparedness for combat to cope with sudden situations. The inspection came as South Korea and the United States began the Ulchi Freedom Shield summer exercises on Monday, designed to enhance their joint responses to North Korea's evolving nuclear and missile threats. Pyongyang has denounced the allies' military drills as a rehearsal for nuclear war. Kim vowed to reinforce the Navy with improved combat efficiency and full modern means of surface and underwater offensive and defensive capabilities. South Korea's military has said 2023's exercises will be held on the largest scale ever, mobilizing tens of thousands of troops from both sides as well as some member states of the United Nations Command. Now, China stands ready to continue to work with Iran to firmly support each other on issues concerning core interests, according to Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi during his phone conversation with Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian on Sunday. Wang also said that after the Iran-Saudi dialogue in Beijing, the two sides have continued to take steps to improve relations, driving a reconciliation wave in West Asia. Wang said Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi paid a successful state visit to China in February this year, and the two nations reached new important consensus on bilateral cooperation, which led China-Iran relations to a new level. The two sides are making every effort to implement the important consensus reached by the two heads of state and pushing forward exchanges and cooperation in various fields. China is also willing to continue to work with Iran to jointly oppose external interference, resist unilateral bullying, defend the sovereignty, security and development interests of the two countries, and safeguard the common interests of developing countries and international fairness and justice, Wang said. The Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein also expressed sincere gratitude to China for the constructive role it played in promoting the normalization of relations between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Tropical storm Hillary made its historic arrival in California on Sunday, with forecasters warning of possibly catastrophic flooding after the storm pummeled Mexico's Baja California peninsula with heavy rains. Now, California Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency for much of Southern California, with flash flood warnings in effect throughout a region that is more accustomed to drought. Hundreds of flights in San Diego, Las Vegas and Los Angeles were cancelled and professional sporting matches rescheduled. The Los Angeles Unified School District and San Diego Unified School District cancelled classes for today. In Wrightwood, California, about 70 miles northeast of Los Angeles, the rain washed trees and mud down a hill in Sheep Canyon. Hillary, which made landfall earlier in the day in the northern part of the Baja California peninsula, has been weakening over the last 48 hours, but it is still set to be the wettest storm ever to hit the southwestern part of the U.S. Areas such as Palm Springs, California, which typically gets around 4.6 inches of rain in an entire year, could receive 6 to 10 inches from this one storm. California's Death Valley area, which receives only about 2.2 inches of rain per year, could receive 3 to 4 inches from this event. Elsewhere, Canada is sending armed forces to tackle fast-spreading wildfires in British Columbia. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said as the western province deals with tinder-dry conditions and winds that have put more than 35,000 people under evacuation order. The British Columbia province imposed an emergency late on Friday, giving officials more power to deal with fire risks. By the weekend, more than 35,000 residents were under an evacuation order and another 30,000 were under an evacuation alert. The McDougall Creek fire is around Kelowna, a city some 300 kilometers east of Vancouver with a population of about 150,000. But other blazes, exacerbated by severe drought, have been reported closer to the U.S. border and in the U.S. Pacific Northwest. Ministers and government officials urged residents living in evacuation order zones to take immediate action in the interest of their own lives and that of the firefighters. British Columbia Premier David Eby also imposed a ban on non-essential travel in order to free up accommodation for evacuees and firefighters. The fires have drained local resources and drawn in federal government assistance as well as support from 13 countries. At least 4 firefighters have died in the line of duty. Meanwhile, wildfires tore through Washington state on Saturday, leaving 1 person dead and prompting authorities to issue evacuation orders for a community near Spokane. 3 fast-moving wildfires, which started on Friday, have burned nearly 18,900 acres. Certain areas in Medical Lake have experienced power outages as a result of the fires. The county declared a state of emergency on Saturday, urging the people to evacuate from the area. Washington Governor Jay Inslee then declared a state of emergency with 185 structures where they have been damaged, and only 10% of fire was contained as of late Sunday. The cause of the fire has not been determined at this time, but around 400 personnel are responding to the emergency. Officials have warned that air quality has continued to deteriorate and is currently considered hazardous across the Spokane County area. Amid heavy security, Ecuadorians headed to the polls in a presidential election tarnished by the murder of a top candidate as the once peaceful nation suffers from violence fueled by the illicit global drug trade. The murder of the campaign trail of presidential contender Fernando Villavicencio just 11 days before the vote traumatized the country and reshuffled the electoral cards, with none of the 8 contenders expected to get an absolute majority, likely forcing a runoff on the 15th of October. Soldiers in body armor were deployed across the country to safeguard the process, and presidential candidates were wearing helmets and bulletproof vests. Ecuadorians were picking a successor to conservative leader Guillermo Lasso, who called a snap election to avoid an impeachment trial just 2 years after coming into power. Lasso recently called on Ecuadorians to stop the advance of authoritarian projects which endanger the stability of the country. Long a country of stability in Latin America, in recent years, Ecuador has become a playground for foreign drug mafia seeking to export cocaine, stirring up a brutal war between local gangs. Coming up in sports, Spain trump England to lift Women's World Cup trophy. Stay with us.
Dengan misi mesti menang, semangat perjuangan terus diledakkan dalam setiap pertembungan. 14 pasukan, satu sorakan. Liga Super 2023 bersama kami di RTM, rakan penyiar MFL Liga Malaysia 2023.
The Ministry of Education, MOE, is finalising the types of sports suitable for students with special needs to be incorporated into the syllabus for the Special Education Sports School. Minister Fadlina Siddiq said the school, which is being constructed in Bandar Enstek Negeri Sembilan and is expected to start in 2025, is aimed at discovering the sporting potential and talent of the students from the group.
2025 operasi. 2025 lah. Nanti kita tengok. Dalam 2025.
Kategori sukan yang jenis-jenis sukan.
Kita sedang perincikan sebab anak-anak ini dia ada suka-suka tertentu. Jadi insya-Allah kita akan maklumkan juga sekali semasa kita ambil. Ada kategori dia.
According to Fadlina, all initiatives implemented by MOE for students from this group are aimed at enhancing their skills in addition to their education. She said MOE with various agencies are also exploring the technical and vocational education and training, or TVET, for these special needs students and hope that more industry players will join in to ensure the potential of the students can be developed in the context of TVET. And on the local football scene, Sri Pahang FC dispatched Harini Selangor FT 2-0 at the Darul Makmur Stadium in Kuantan, Pahang last night to win 5-2 on aggregate and book a spot in the quarterfinals of the Malaysia Cup.
Bola perlawanan dari pos Malaysia.
Just mere minutes into the game, it was obvious that the hosts dominated the playing field with barrages of attempts launched on visitors' goalmouth. There was little that can be done with Harini Selangor FT to block Kipah Shuman's bicycle kick, which awarded Sri Pahang the opening goal in the 42nd minute. He then added another goal to his name to make it a brace in the 52nd minute. Sri Pahang went into the match with a 3-2 victory in the first leg at Tuanku Abdul Rahman Stadium in Paro in Negeri Sembilan on the 4th of August. They will take on four-time champions Kuala Lumpur City FC in the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, Negeri Sembilan FC enjoyed a 5-2 aggregate win over Kelantan United after winning 4-2 at home at Tuanku Abdul Rahman Stadium last night. Negeri Sembilan did not have a good start, with Kelantan import striker Jose Porteria scoring early in the 3rd minute, but managed to recover and equalise through a Casagrande header in the 7th minute. The home team then blazed ahead, adding 2 more goals through R. Bharat Kumar in the 19th minute and Myanmar import Hein Tet Aung in the 34th minute. In the second half, Kelantan managed to close the gap with a penalty by Indra Putra Mahyudin. The celebration did not last long, as Negeri Sembilan were also gifted with a penalty in the 87th minute. Youssef Ezijari converted the penalty to close the scoreline at 4-2. Negeri Sembilan will meet defending champions Johor Darul Ta'zim JDT in the quarterfinals. A new name has been etched onto the FIFA Women's World Cup trophy as Spain became the 5th team to win the title after beating England 1-0. Olga Carmona took the centre stage as a 29th-minute strike ensured that Spain becomes the second country after Germany to have won both the men's and women's World Cup titles. An even start saw both sides create chances after stringing together a run of plays. Lauren Hemp was close to putting England ahead in the 16th minute, but her left-footed strike struck the bar. Spain responded a minute later when Paraluelo failed to get on the end of Carmona cross, but it fell for Alba Redondo, whose strike was denied by England keeper Mary Earps. La Roja went ahead in the 29th minute when they won back possession in the midfield. Teresa Abelera spread the play down to the left and Mariona Caldente laid it off for Carmona, who unleashed a first-time rocket that went beyond Earps. Spain remained dangerous into the dying minutes and retained the lead over Lioness. This is just Spain's 3rd appearance in Women's World Cup after having been eliminated in the round of 16 4 years ago and failing to progress from the group stage in 2015. Noah Lyles of the United States raced to victory in the 100 metres at the World Athletics Championship in Budapest on Sunday, his first world title over the distance. The 2-times world champion in the 200 metres pulled ahead over the final 50 metres to cross in a personal best 9.83 seconds, matching the world leading time this season. It was a blanket finish behind him as Letsil Tebogo of Botswana took silver by 1,000th of a second from Britain Zarnil Hughes. Fourth-placed Oblique Sevilla of Jamaica was 3,000ths of a second off the podium as all 3 men clocked 9.88. Former champion Christian Coleman was also in the mix after a great start but was just overhauled to finish 5th in 9.92. The United States sit firmly at the top of the sprinting tree again as Lyle's victory makes it 4th World Cup titles in a row, following 4 in a row for Jamaica before that. Defending 100-metre world champion Fred Curley of the US failed to qualify for the final after running 10.02 in the semis. And moving on to tennis, Coco Gauff beat Carolina Muchova 6-3, 6-4 to win the biggest title of her young career at the Cincinnati Open and extend her outstanding run of form on North American hard courts ahead of the US Open. Having won Auckland in January and Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago, Gauff is now the first teenager to win 3 titles in a season since Bianca Andreescu in 2019. In the first career meeting between the two, Goff overcame a sluggish start to hold off Muchova's attacking. With steady work from the baseline, Goff held Muchova to just 4 winners in the opening set, compounded by 13 unforced errors. Muchova came into her first WTA 1000 final, having spent 10 hours on the court, with all her completed matches going a full 3 sets during the week. Still, Muchova's full fighting qualities were displayed down the stretch. After Goff earned a double break advantage to serve out the win at 5-2, Muchova gamely saved 3 match points to break and close the gap. She then held serve from a 0-30 deficit to force Goff to close the match. This time, the American did not falter as she held at love to seal her dominant week after 1 hour 56 minutes. She will be seeded 6th at Flushing Meadows after winning the title in Washington, D.C.
23 Western and Southern Open Women's Singles Champion Coco Gauff.
And over to MotoGP, Ducati's Francesco Bagnaia won his 5th race of the season when he led the Austrian Grand Prix from start to finish on Sunday, completing the sprint and race double for the 3rd time this year to extend his lead in the Riders' Championship. Now, Brad Binder finished 2nd for KTM at their home Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring, and Marco Bezzecchi was 3rd for VR46 Racing. The Italian's 50th MotoGP podium put Bagnaia 62 points ahead of Jorge Martin in the standings. Martin made up 9 places on Saturday to finish 3rd in the sprint, but he was unable to do the same in the race after serving a long lap penalty for triggering a first corner pile-up in the sprint, eventually finishing 7th. As the race went on, Bagnaia put the hammer down and extended his lead as Binder struggled to match the Ducati's pace, but at the same time, it was enough to widen the gap to Marquez behind him. And in cycling, British rider Stefan Williams held on to the Arctic Race of Norway on Sunday by besting Italian Christian Scaroni by just a single second. Stage 4 ended in a sprint finish with Franz Clément Champozon taking the win, just nipping local odd Christian Eiking and Michele Gazzoli of Italy to the line. Williams managed to cover all the attacks in the stage finale and finished inside the peloton to ensure he didn't lose any time after taking the yellow jersey on Saturday. Christian Scaroni finished 2nd on GC, just 1 second adrift, while Kevin Vermarke replaced Tobias Johansson on the last step of the podium by gaining some bonus seconds early in the stage. In the sprint, Michele Gazzoli went early and led until the final few meters, but was pipped to the line as Champozin and Eiking came past him. Though it ended in a sprint, the 4th final stage was a far from straightforward affair for Williams to defend his slender overall lead. Williams was coming under pressure from attacks by Eiking and Guillaume Martin, but managed to follow each move as the peloton stayed together. The final stage of the race capped off 4 days of battling with bitter cold and wet weather, which Williams said made the overall win all the sweeter.
76 minit tanpa henti.
76 minutes non-stop. Transparent and concise.
Paparan komprehensif, ringkas dan padat. Saksikan Kanta 744 malam. Berita perdana 8 malam.
Malaysia tonight, 8:30 p.m.
And with that, we reach the end of today's updates at noon. With a reminder of our leading story today, police warn public to stop sharing plane crash victims' videos. Do join us again tonight at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM for more news. You can also view it on the go on RTM Clicks website and mobile app. I'm Mohana Priya, Malaysia Madani, dekat perpaduan, penuhi harapan. Have a great afternoon.